Hello, hockey fans. My name is David. Thought I would start this video at 3:24 on the afternoon of Wednesday, 28th of December, 2022, North American Eastern Time. Thought I would do is just going to make a couple of notes here. There are two games in action. A relatively light day on the World Junior on the under 20 men's top division tournament. So basically, these games. So one of those broadcasts is supposed to begin in under 40 minutes from now. The other, that's the American and Slovak teams. And Canada and Germany will be later on in the evening. I thought I would do first is mention that among teams in the tournament, we have Czechs and Swedish teams moving on to the quarters. None yet from there, but there will be some games, of course, beside those. When it has come to the biggest surprise of the tournament, Finland losing in overtime, and Switzerland ending up winning its first two, but not in regulation. So it's not exactly clinched any, a spot in the quarters. On the other hand, just going to look at the standings in the round robin. So look at the standings here. I'm going to get in a moment into the biggest surprise, I'd say, in a big way. Just one of them in a positive way. Another is, Latvia showing some resistance against its Swiss counterpart, even when in a loss in a shootout, and 1 point over 2 games, so 1 out of a possible 6 points. So that is definitely not great, but it could be worse. So Group B, we have Switzerland. So far, going into games take place later on Wednesday. Switzerland and Finland tied for first in Group B, but with a Swiss overtime win, acting for now as the tiebreaker for terms of placement. But very close, but that's important. The United States will be playing Slovakia, so could overtake both of those teams. So, which team do I see as the strongest candidate to be relegated? I'd say an Austrian one that through 2 games has given up 20 goals and scored none. To be fair, Germany hasn't scored a goal either. So Germany and Austria are tied for having not scored a goal. It'll be interesting to find out which of those German-speaking countries will stay up. But again, the resistance shown by Nikita Kwap, even in a 1-0 regulation loss to Sweden, is something that the Canadian junior team should take note of. Huge problems with penalties, discipline, too much puck watching did the Canadian team in against Czechia. So tiebreaker. Czechia wins tiebreaker. Should there be a 2-way tie between the teams? On the other hand, I'm less concerned about that than I am that Canada wins more than just one game during the preliminary round. And to do that, that means score early and often. Keeping in mind that in terms of shots taken, Sweden took 44 to Germany's 28. So if the key thing is, should Nikita Kwap be put in net for Germany, even in a back-to-back, the Canadians had better watch out, because he stopped all but one Swedish shot. So the margin for error is very small. Canada's already had its mulligan, had its gippy. It cannot lose another game. I don't want it to go down like for Austria. I mean, sure, Canada does face Austria on Thursday Eastern Time, but there's no doubt that in the first period of the Canada-Czechia game, Czechia came out with 2 goals late in the first period. Well, 2 goals late in the first period, 1 goal early in the second, and then 2 others. Oh, they're there. Yeah, 2. There are 3 goals. 2 goals in the second period, in first period, 1 very early in the second, and then 2 very late in the second. They're on power play, on 5-minute due to a stupid check to the head by Zach Dean. I'm not sure what the suspension is, but even if he isn't suspended, it's not going to matter. So I don't really know if he's been suspended or anything. Doesn't matter. No word on whether the International Ice Hockey Federation suspended him after he had taken a match penalty that had sent him to his team's dressing room. What matters is, even if he's back in the lineup to play against Germany later on this evening Eastern Time, he indirectly cost his team 2 goals against. 2 goals that put the Czechs ahead, not by 1, but by 3. Discipline's got to be better. No more puck watching, and speed. Stop penalties, because it's not always slow and steady winning the race. And I say slow because slow speed, costly, penalties, no good. So, again, so that's what you could try there. So what I would do is also a couple notes as well. Czechia and Sweden, having won their respective games in regulation on Monday, 9-0 over Austria for the Czechs, and 1-0 over Germany for the Swedes, means that both those teams, all those 4 teams are out of action. Sweden will be in action against Czechia on Wednesday. Austria and Canada, same thing. So yeah. So in terms, I'd say the Austria is a strong candidate to be relegated. 2019, the Danish junior team was up in the top division, ended up losing all of its games, including the 2 in the relegation round, ending up scoring 3 goals against its Kazakh counterpart in the first game of that 2-game relegation playout. But in no other game did the Danish national team manage to score a goal. And it hasn't been up in the top division since then, having remained in Group A of Division 1, and where it will remain for the 2024 tournament, given that it didn't earn enough points to, in 2023, get up to the top division. So just going to just recap, and the Wikipedia page of the 2020 World Junior Ice Hockey Championship. So, Division 1, Danish team earned via wins in regulation and extra time, 5 points, losing the remaining 3 games. 2 points up on a Slovenian team that ended up being relegated to Group B of Division 1. So that's how far. Yeah. And also, the Danish team in that tournament, that, within its group, scored fewer goals. Or did it? Yeah, scored fewer goals than any of the remaining teams. Just 9 over 5 games. The next, the second worst being Kazakhstan, which ended up finishing in second with 3 wins and 2 losses, with all such decisions having come in regulation. So Norway will be joining Canada, will be 2024 top division tournament. So in terms of candidates to be relegated, so I've got Group A, which is Austria. I believe that most likely Austria will go down, but again, Canada's going to have to beat Austria to be sure of getting into a quarterfinal. On the other hand, when it comes to Group B, it's hard to know at this point. Latvia ended up losing a 5-2 decision to the U.S. with 3 third-period goals scored by the Americans, proving costly to Latvia to break a 2-2 tie. Latvia did lose in a shootout and will be out of action until playing Finland on Thursday Eastern time. On Thursday Eastern time, Thursday will be against Finland. But before then, we have a Slovak team that has no Uri Slavkovsky and who knows how many anyone else. So I'd say, for now, the Latvian and Slovak teams are strong candidates to be relegated. Keep in mind that only one team from the top division will be relegated. That being said, it's important to note that again, much will depend on what happens between Slovak and American teams. The Slovakia and the United States. So what happens? We'll see what happens. But again, it's hard to know. On that note, least pleasant surprise for Canada is lack of chemistry. Did it in. It cannot afford to take, it doesn't have any more gimmies. It needs, for me, it's very simple. It's got to stay up, and it can do that. And to beat Germany will be huge. But beating Austria will also be huge. And if that happens, then I'd say that Canada will qualify as a quarterfinalist. And whether Austria is relegated or goes to relegation round, it'll be up to its match against Germany. On the 30th of December, which is a Friday. That could decide the future of Austria. Austria goes to relegation round or stays up. So Latvia and Slovakia are strong candidates for relegation, but Latvia has a point, Slovakia has none. So we'll see what happens, but that way, I'm going to say, go Canada, go.